Welcome, kindred spirits, to this special bonus episode of Echoes from the Loam before we take a short Christmas break, returning in the new year. I invite you to settle in, light a candle if you can, breathe deeply, and focus. Today we'll journey into the heart of winter, to the still point of the year, winter solstice, known in many pagan traditions as Yule. This is a time of darkness and dreaming, of endings and beginnings, a time when the sun stands still. In this episode, we'll explore the ancient roots of Yule, its symbols and stories, and close with a ritual and blessing. So whether you walk a pagan path or simply seek connection to the turning seasons, this episode's for you. Long before the word Christmas was ever spoken, people across northern Europe gathered to mark the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. This was Yule, a sacred festival of fire and frost, of death and rebirth, of ancestors and gods. When the nights grow longest and the wind howls through bare branches, the veil between worlds, not just for the dead, but for the old spirits of winter, thins. Before Christmas lights and department store Santas, there were other visitors who came in the month of December. Some brought gifts, others brought fear. All reminded us that winter is a time of reckoning. Sinterklaas and the shadow behind him. In the Low Countries, we now call Netherlands and Belgium, children once waited not for Santa Claus but for Sinterklaas, a tall, solemn bishop in red robes who arrived by steamboat. He rode a white horse across rooftops and left sweets in shoes for good children. But he never came alone. His companion, a figure whose origins are tangled in colonial history and evolving cultural critique. But before him, there were older, darker shadows, wild men, chained spirits and soot-covered tricksters who punished the disobedient. These figures may have descended from house spirits or even from the wild hunt itself, reminding us that Sinterklaas was never just a jolly gift giver, he was a judge. And behind him loomed the threat of exile, or worse. Then there was Krampus, the winter devil. Travel south into the snowy Alps and you'll meet Krampus, horned, hairy and terrifying, with cloven hooves, a lolling tongue and a basket on his back. Krampus is the dark twin of St. Nicholas, and on Krampusnacht, the night of December 5th, he stalks the streets with chains and birch rods, punishing naughty children or dragging them away entirely. Krampus likely predates Christianity, rooted more in pagan Alpine traditions. He may be a remnant of the horned fertility gods or forest spirits once honoured in the region. And as Christianity spread, these wild figures were demonized and bound to the service of saints. But Krampus never lost his bite. Today, his image has surged back into popular culture, celebrated in parades and festivals and even horror films. He is the shadow that makes the light of Yule burn brighter. In Austria and southern Germany, another winter spirit that walks the snowy roads was Perchta, also called Berchta or Frau Percht. She is a dual-natured goddess, beautiful and radiant in her benevolent form, haggard and terrifying in her wrath. She visits home during the 12 nights of Yule, especially towards the end, the 12th night. She rewards the diligent, those who have spun their flax and tidied their homes, but woe to the lazy or the greedy. In her darker guise, she is said to slit open the bellies of those who displease her, stuffing them with straw and stones. Yet she is not merely a punisher. She is a guardian of the threshold between years, a protector of the dead, a keeper of the old ways. And across northern Europe and Scandinavia to the British Isles, the winter sky once echoed with howls of the wild hunt, believed to have been led by Odin, Woden, or sometimes even a spectral queen. This ghostly procession of hunters, hounds, and lost souls tore through the night sky during Yule. To hear the hunt was to risk madness. To see it was worse. But those who honoured the old gods, left offerings, and kept their hearths lit might have been spared or even blessed. Not all Yule spirits are terrifying. In Scandinavia, they have small house spirits who guard the farmstead. He expects nothing but a bowl of porridge with butter on Christmas Eve. Forget he may sour your milk or even tangle your livestock's manes, but that was as bad as it got. And these spirits are older than Christianity, rooted in ancestor veneration and land-based magic. They're reminders that even in the coldest months, the home is sacred, and the turning of the year must be honoured. Yule is the winter solstice, the rebirth of the sun, the longest night giving way to growing light. But in the old ways, the turning was not gentle. It was marked by masks, by fire, fear, and feasting. It was a time to honour the balance between light and dark, and gift and punishment, and life and death. So when you light your candles at Yule, remember the spirits who walk the snow. For they're not gone, they're only sleeping. And on the longest night of the year, they stir. In Germanic and Norse traditions, Yule was a time for feasting, sacrifice, and storytelling. People left offerings and food and drink to appease otherworldly travellers and to honour their own beloved dead. The solstice marked the battle between the Holly King and the Oak King, twin aspects of the turning year. The Holly King, who ruled the waning half of the year, would fall to the Oak King, who brought the light's return. This myth echoed the eternal cycle of life and death, rebirth, a rhythm mirrored in the land itself. For our ancestors, Yule was not just celebration, it was a rite of survival, a sacred promise that even in the deepest dark, the light would return. And many of the symbols we now associate with modern winter holidays have their roots in Yule. But in their original forms, they were more than decoration. They were workings of the wise men and women. They were prayers. They were prophecies. Evergreens like holly, ivy, pine, and even fir trees were brought indoors to remind people that life endures. Holly, with its blood-red berries and thorny leaves, symbolised protection and the sacred feminine. Ivy, ever climbing, represented resilience and connection. And mistletoe, sacred to the Druids, was harvested with golden sickles and never allowed to touch the ground. It was a plant of peace and fertility and divine blessing. The Yule tree, often ash or fir, was brought inside and decorated with sun wheels, with dried fruits and candles. And each ornament was a charm for health, for love, for abundance, for a bountiful year to come. The Yule log, usually a great oak, was brought into the hearth and burned through the night. Its embers were believed to protect the home and ensure the sun's return. And the ashes from the log were scattered in the fields to bless the crops. Feasting, singing, and gift-giving were not just for merriment, they were acts of magic. To share warmth and abundance in the coldest season, to affirm life's persistence. The winter solstice is a liminal moment, a pause in the breath of the earth. The sun, having waned for 6 long months, halts its descent. For a heartbeat it lingers, and then slowly it begins to rise again. To pagans, this is not just astronomy, it is myth made manifest. The sun is reborn, and with it the promise of renewal. The darkness is not banished, but honoured. This is a time for reflection. What have you shed this year? What has died? What remains? What no longer serves you? It's a time for ancestral remembrance, lighting candles for those who came before, for their blood sings in your veins, for intention setting or New Year's resolutions. What seeds will you plant in the returning light? The solstice invites us to turn inward, to listen, to dream. It's the stillness before the thaw and the hush before the song. You don't need a grand altar space or a forest clearing to honour the Yule. So here's a simple, powerful ritual for you to perform, alone or with loved ones. You will need a candle, red, white, gold or green, a sprig of evergreen, whether that's holly, pine or ivy, a bowl of water, a slip of paper and a pen. And if you like, music, incense and a small offering. Begin by preparing your space. Dim the lights and light your candle. Place the evergreen beside it. Let the sun and the flame be one, small but steadfast. Breathe deeply. Feel the hush of the seasons settle around you. Imagine the earth sleeping beneath frost and snow. Imagine the sun low on the horizon, waiting to rise again. Now say, on this longest night, I welcome the light. I honour the dark, the stillness, the seed. I call to the sun to rise again. I call to my ancestors to walk with me. I call to the wheel of the year to turn. Dip your fingers into the water and touch your brow, your heart and your hands. Let this be a blessing of clarity, courage and action. Write your intention, a word, a wish, a vow, onto your paper. Fold it and burn it in the candle's flame. Close your eyes, feel the warmth of the flame. Feel the turning of the earth and know that you are part of this cycle, ancient, sacred and ever renewing. End with gratitude. Thank the sun, the dark, the land, and your own spirit for enduring. Let me leave you with this blessing, crafted for you, for this moment, for the turning of the year. On this longest night, I light a flame, small, steady and golden bright. May it warm the chambers of your heart and guide you through the dark of night. May the spirits of your kin draw near with stories whispered on the wind. May the roots of the earth hold you fast as the wheel turns and dreams begin. May the returning sun kiss your skin and stir the seeds you've yet to sow. May you rise with the Oak King's strength and walk the path your soul shall know. Blessed Yule, dear traveller. The light returns, and so do you. And as the year turns, may you find rest, renewal, and ever-radiant hope. Blessings on your festivities, and I'll see you in the new year. If this episode speaks to you, consider sharing it with your circle, or just light a candle in honour. Blessed be.